This place was heavily transformed by human intervention. 30 years ago, this was the dump site for the city of Imperial Beach. If you dig under this building, there's trash. Back over there, there was the wastewater treatment plant of the city of Imperial Beach. And the burns are still there as a reminder that this place was considered a dump site and a wastewater treatment plant. You see those logs aligned, heading towards the river. That was the runoff pipe. Actually, the pipe was on top of those poles, bringing runoff to the Tijuana River. So this was a place where people didn't really care about. About 25 years ago, a developer purchased this land and attempted to build a marina, a residential marina. He was planning on dragging everything, dredging the channel, and converting this place into a marina. A group of citizens, local citizens, decided to oppose that project, and they won. The federal government bought the land from the developer, and slowly but surely this place was restored. The plants that you can see here are not exactly representative of this particular ecosystem. This is a collection. We have brought these plants for display, but in the background, that's a native habitat where species survive healthily. And also, you can see the salt marsh, a vast extension of salt marsh, a place where crustaceans, fish, birds, and other species survive and reproduce. The only other estuary this size, which is not bisected by a railroad or a highway, is in Ensenada, about 100 miles away from here. Birds flying from South America towards Alaska make stops. So this is one of the stops at this flyway that stretches all the way on the Pacific coast. Without this place, those birds would not survive. They need to stop and feed and rest. So if this place would disappear, it'll take all the species with it. In the background, you can see hills. There are actually 3 hills, 3 main features. Every single one has adopted a different type of species. It's incredible that minuscule changes in the chemistry of the soil and the ambience has adopted a different species. You find species on one hill, just a few yards away, they're different species. And they're unique. You don't find them anywhere else in the world. And of course, we have our neighbors to the south, kind of taking care of us in a fashion. This estuary is the outlet of a 1,700 square mile watershed, quite large. All the water drains through this stretch of land, only 5,000 acres. That's what is left. Mostly in the hands of government organizations, thanks God. Some developers are still trying hard. And if you visit the shopping center, I don't know if you went there, Las Americas shopping center, that's encroached into the estuary and other developments as well. That stretch of land next to the ocean is not just blocking wildlife, it's also blocking the takeoff of airplanes at the Navy base here. So the Navy cannot fly planes anymore because by the time they take off, they're not high enough to avoid those structures. So this is a place of reflection. This is a regional asset. Mexico contributes with sediment, healthy amounts of sediment. This place would not exist without the sediment coming from Mexico. But it's now overwhelmed. Urban development has produced huge amounts of sediment. Just 10 years ago, 8 years ago, a developer, and we're going to visit that place today, decided to remove all the vegetation on our former ranch to create a new community called Progressive Rural Development. And that translates to, well, progressive kind of means something interesting. Progressive means no roads, no paved roads, no sewer, no electricity, no water. That's progressive. Rural, I guess that means that the lots should be large. They're tiny, they're really small. So somehow that developer got away with a permit to build that in the middle of the city. He removed the vegetation, coincided with an El Nino storm, and we lost, in one single night, we lost 20 acres of a pristine ecosystem like this, in one single night. If we put a value to it, a monetary value, we lost about $40 million in one night. And that developer had never thought about destroying that asset. He sold those lots in US dollars to poor people. He was just making a buck for himself, a former politician. And we end up with a big tag of cleaning up and restoring that site. We haven't found the money. Years and years after, we haven't found the money to restore. And of course, decision makers here got overwhelmed, and you'll be overwhelmed today as we cross into Mexico. And many people think there's no solution. This is too big. How can we manage this? Well, the response is one microbasin at a time. And that microbasin is located right there. You can see the feature. It's called Los Laureles Canyon or Goat Canyon. And today we're going to stay on this side of the border to look at the impact of Los Laureles Canyon on this ecosystem. And then we're going to cross and look at the communities that unintentionally created a huge problem for us. But the solution is there, not here. We can bring resources there. Typically, politicians and decision makers want to invest in their own turf. That doesn't work. We need to invest there. We need to work at the source of the problem, and that's what we're trying to do. And we have found some solutions in the problem itself. There's tons of trash. We collect tires, car parts, electrodomestics, everything at the sediment basins we're going to visit shortly. Well, people in Mexico are using all that trash that actually we produce. San Diego gets rid of all this trash by putting together garage sales or other means of sending trash to Mexico. And then people with very creative minds produce houses, produce accessories, produce furniture, and you're going to witness that. So we're building on that ingenuity, and we're using trash to solve the trash problem. You have to witness that. I'm not going to explain that now. So again, welcome to this place. Hopefully this place will survive. We have threats like climate change. If that sea rises, this would be a beach. It would not be an estuary. And it'll perhaps move towards the east. We need to protect the land on the east to allow the transition of the estuary into another land, high ground. We also need to know, perhaps to include into our way of interpreting the law, that Mexico is sitting on higher ground. Usually politicians look at maps, flat maps, and for them everything is flat, 2 dimensions. Well, guess what? Every drop of water that falls in Tijuana ends up here really fast, because those mesas are 700 feet above sea level, and they're right there, next to us. Some people jokingly said that the gringos took the flatland and left the hills to Mexico. Now we're paying the consequences. Is the Montezuma revenge, I guess. So I don't want to take more time because we have a long day, and I just want to inform you about the border crossing again, because some of you are still intrigued about that process. It took about a year of negotiations that ended last week with a lot of flexibility from both Border Patrol and immigration authorities in Mexico. We send a list with your names, passport numbers, gender, date of birth. Some got missed. I don't know what happened. But today, since I'm going to build on that flexibility, and they, for a while, thought that this was crazy, but then they started having fun about it. And today, when we went to set up the tent, Border Patrol was there, and they were laughing about the whole event. It hasn't happened yet, and they were laughing. So I'm going to cross the border, negotiate with Mexican authorities. I'll come back, and hopefully I'll bring you all across that border. How's that?